Hello and welcome back to game number 2, or should I say set number 2 here for the European SMITE Challenger Circuit. Smileyface and the Papis now have their chance to square off the other team that rose up from the SOC. It's time for them to have their hands against what could be potentially the number 1 team in the EU SEC with how well the Papis have been performing recently.
I mean, they may not be officially the number 1 team, but I think in terms of overall team play and how well they fight back from when they're behind, they are 100% the number 1 team. I don't think you're going to be able to find a better team that works as a unit than the Papis. So if you want to beat them, you're really going to have to beat every single member rather than just putting out a weak link, and Smileyface have their work cut out to do so.
Yeah, this is a tough team to fight up into. Individual matchups, it may go one way or another, but that's not where the Papis excel. They excel as the full unit once that 25-30 minute mark comes through. Even if they're down, the Papis are never out. Well, to see what Smileyface decides to pick up against them here as we go into the drafts, picks and bans for game number 1 are underway.
It looks like Smileyface got the option and they'd taken the first pick away from the Papis here. And hopefully that means that they're able to get something of value, something that they really want as their first pick. Morgan going to be taken off the table straight away. Don't want to face up against that, and I honestly don't blame them.
No, I can't recall a single team that has actually let the Morgan through in the EU SCC at all this split, and probably even into last split. I don't think that we saw Morgan ever come through.
I mean, we have done once or twice, but somehow it's always been against Belt Slap, and Zeros has picked up Morgan.
And probably the worst team to ever let that through. Remember how Zeros was, you know, kind of bragged as like the number 1 Morgan in the world when he was in the SPL? Yeah, I don't think you want to give that to him even in the SCC. Yeah,
number 1 Morgan player in the world pretty much most of the time. Number 1 Kronos player in mid. Number 1 Soul player in mid. It's very difficult. He's got a lot of accolades to him. And there's all that same hallmark of those safeguards that are really difficult to lock down. Good amount of farm consistently. But we're not talking about Zeros. We're talking about Smileyface versus the Papis. And Nemesis is what I want to talk about here. Banned away by the Papis from Smileyface. That is a shot directly at the jungler.
Oh, and this is a shot directly at the jungler as well with this Out Kwong ban. And week number 1, Papis kind of handed it to him with this Out Kwong into the jungle. I'm not surprised to see it banned away here by Smileyface. I mean, how do you just allow Marcus to do those kinds of things onto this god? And Freya with the final ban thrown here by the Papis, just taking her off the board.
Yeah, I don't think there's any reason to say that Out Kwong should be let through, but I don't think there's any reason to say why Cthulhu should be let through unless he has something to plan against it. And Cthulhu is going to be taken up here by Smileyface, so 99% certain that's going to be the solo laner. That 1% is going to be into support, but who plays the big squid as a support these days?
Who does? No. Squid stays in solo. I mean, Squid, solo, they both start with S. Supports
also
support
starts with S.
Z. Support. It's now a Z.
Wait, Zaman plays support now?
Yes. Support.
Zapport.
Merlin and Sobek picked up for the Papis. Go up against the Squid Man himself, and he's getting something comfortable for the mid laner on the Papis, and who better to give it to than a Merlin?
Yeah, and that's going to be really good amount of farm for him. It does well against the Cthulhu, just because that flicker allows him to get out of the knock-up and create some distance between himself and the giant squid. Gets himself out of Jingwei's, aerial assault as well. Good follow-up to the Sobek pluck. I really like the synergy between the Merlin and the Sobek, especially when you're considering they've already had the Cthulhu locked in against them. It makes sense that they've taken it up. Bakasura and Jingwei both looking to just rush players down. Jingwei a bit more safety in that dual lane. But the Bakasura is just going to outfar pretty much anyone here.
And then Warchi just gets to play Cupid again, as if we didn't get to see enough Cupid from the Papis. We get to see him one more time. Vulcan ban away. A lot of respect being thrown back over to Smileyface to make sure that Bratz doesn't get his signature pick.
Yeah, Brot's played an extremely powerful Agni to take a game off. To Agni in the last week, extremely powerful Vulcan to take a game off a Belt Slap. So no surprise to see those two taken away. Raijin was his next go-to choice after these two were banned away and the Merlin taken off him. So I imagine that's what he's going to be going for here on the side of Smileyface. But Thor and Kali. So far, it's just a lot of these pressure junglers, these interruption junglers taken away from the side of the Papis. They're going to go in for someone that's not known for disruption, but is known for just running it down in the Arachne.
Not very often that we get to see the Queen of the Spiders come out, but I believe it has been the Papis and Belt Slap have been the two consistent teams to bring it out when all is said and done. Jing Chen, the next god, locked in for Smileyface to round out their most likely support this time around, giving that one over to the dual lane. Last pick, neither mid laner. You were calling Raijin before. We'll see if they opt into it. No, it'll be a Thoth actually this time around for the mid lane.
The Thoth has a decent matchup in this game. I mean, it's one of the few mages that's able to get away from the Arachne a bit easily, at least until level 5, and then the Arachne has her infinite web, just goes up onto it, chases Thoth down once he's used his dash, in which case it could be a bit curtains for him, but outside of that, Thoth should have, a good amount of time in this early game, should be able to outpressure the Merlin with all things that are done, but he's going to run into a bit of an issue, and that's the Kuzenbo is back, and Cthulhu versus Kuzenbo in the solo lane. I see this going Cthulhu's way, but Kuzenbo can bring up a surprise or two.
I'm not going to count this out as being a Kuzenbo support, however, onto the side of the Papis. We do get ready to go into game number 1 here between Smileyface and the Papis. Best of 3. This first game is such a big one. Smileyface have shown a lot of fight in the past in their matchups. Going against the Papis, it's going to be a tall mountain to climb. As we do see, it is the Draco Marino on Kuzenbo.
You called it. That's you now have 7 calls rather than 6 before I get your job.
Oh, do we go up when I get a correct call? It goes up.
Yeah. That's how it works. You start on 5.
Okay. Okay. Oh, dang! I'm +2. How did that happen?
Yeah. I don't know. Just some random dumb luck, I suppose.
Look, I guess there's a reason I'm back here behind the mic sometimes. We definitely know why I'm not there on the playing field. One, it's because I'm not in the same region as these guys. And thank goodness I don't have to go up against a team like the Papis here. But Smileyface, they've shown a lot of promise into the past, and a lot of it on the back of Brotz and Sirga in the jungle. He's had a exceptional Bakasura play into the past. We'll see if he can make it work here up against this Arachne.
Yeah, but it is up against an Arachne, who is one of the most terrifying gods to go up against, no matter who you're playing. Looks like it's going to be an early hog there from the Bakasura, just to guarantee that Brotz gets the farm. Going to rush over towards the blue buff, where Mogao is waiting in the wings. Yeah, because he has giant wings as Cthulhu. See what I did there?
Which is so strange, because he's like from the depths of the water. What does he need wings for? I mean, I'd consider fins would have made more sense, something like that to help him, swim up the water a little bit faster. I don't know.
I mean, it's because of the fact that he's not from this realm, but from a different realm where he needs to fly and swim at the same time, I think. I don't know about my Lovecraftian lore.
Don't worry, you know about as much as I do onto it. All we do know is that Cthulhu is here. Spam your Cthulhus in chat, because one day I'll actually learn how to say what in the heck ever that message is that gets thrown every time that you see the Cthulhu. But minute in, and we can already see the red buff invade by Marcus. No stopping onto this. And actually looking at Sirga, who has to jump over to the wall. With the clear down from the Thoth and Draco Marino on full rotation, that will be a successful red buff steal. I'm not sure, actually, if they got that one.
It would be a steal, yes.
Yeah.
Looks like Papis are successful. Pressure in the dual lane does tell there. And Bakasura, who ordinarily is the one that gets off to the good early game starts and the good early game invades and leads, finds himself a tiny bit behind the Arachne here.
Echrome on the Jingwei, paired up go up against this Cupid, who is basically just being ult for ult trade when it comes to their solo matchups in this dual lane. As far as clear goes, it goes still slightly more in favor, I'd imagine, of the Jingwei, even though you do have the Cupid. You gotta stack that Heart Bomb, and they're trying to get some big damage onto Echrome. Misses the Heart Bomb. Fortune needs one more base, but beautiful body blocks out of Eyes Silence will make sure that they can't get the return kill, and that's the power of Kuzenbo's dash this early on.
When he dashes in, just unfortunately misses that Heart Bomb, and that just allows Ecro to get away for free there. It's so close. That's just what Kuzuma's support brings. He brings immense damage. He hasn't even used that blink yet. Necrom's already got his beats on cooldown for the next minute.
Draco Marino shoves Silence through the minion wave, and that helps set up for the purple buff invade, which you will get that one started up. So Draco Marino can come over and try and help secure that one down. A couple autos of each of them. They will be successful in stealing. Workshy holding on to his dash. He just gets hit by a little bit of CC out of Silence. But a successful purple invade will lead to their own purple buff drop.
Yeah, not going to take it just yet. Want to play the minions to keep the pressure up in the lane. Just make sure that the Qingwei and Xingqian aren't able to invade onto the purple buff back again. They may even call Marcus over just to help secure this if needs be.
Well, going over to the mid camp. Not looking for that invade just yet, though. You never know with Marcus. He could look to make a very quick one, but with no other rotation for the rest of the team, they'll go ahead and let that one go and just go for their own red buff instead, making sure to secure their own farm. Mogao on the Cthulhu. We don't typically see Mogao off of his general roles that we normally see him picked in, the Kumbhakarn, the Nox, the Sobek even, but piloting the big squid for the first time, I believe, this split.
I mean, I don't think you can sort of say to your team, guys, I don't want to play Cthulhu.
Right, yeah.
It's just how strong he is. He goes, excuse me? No, you play Cthulhu.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those that every solo laner's got a Cthulhu. It's just when do they finally get to play it more than anything. And Mogao now getting to show it off for himself here up against the Sobek of Zelma. Marcus looking for a rotation here on the ult down from E-Chrome. Purification Beats is available. He has a knockup. The Heart Bomb isn't going to get the stun, but there's still a backup stun on the way for Marcus. First blood for the Papis.
Yeah, just a bit too aggressive there from Ecrom. The second he used his ultimate, you heard me say, oh no, in the chat, because you know exactly what was coming. Creed also knows what's coming, and that's just him having to play defensively for a tiny bit as Sergazek looks to get something going in the other side of the map. But rotations are coming out here just from Draco Marino, and Silence, who thinks better of it, goes back to the mid lane. Looking for the aggression here. Sumo Slime not able to be taken there because Lamogo gets into his ultimate just in the nick of time.
Barely manages to make it through. Siriga on the rotation as well. Has his ultimate just in case he needed it, but opted to hold on. Now this blue buff going to be looked to be stolen away. As you see, Jungler making a rotation down. Marcus is even showing up to bat for this blue buff to guarantee that Mogao doesn't get that one. And I'll give it over to Draco Marino to give himself a little bit of extra cooldown reduction with that buff.
Yeah, and I don't think there's something more terrifying than a support Kuzumo who's got himself a blue buff wrapped around his waist. I think the other thing a bit more dangerous than that would be if he had his blink up, but blink still down for another minute and a half, so Smileyface can breathe a slight sigh of relief, knowing that the Kuzumo won't teleport behind.
Let's throw a Mystical Mail onto that one. I think that makes it a little bit scarier.
Oh, no.
And then Old Nemean Lion. Let's throw that one in with it. And a Thorns.
Yeah.
It got scarier. It gets more terrifying.
It gets worse. Well, if he ever needs another buff, they're just going to make sure his turn radius is even sharper. That seems to be like the one buff they always do.
Well, eventually he'll be able to do a 720 whenever he's using that push instead of just a 360. Silence is going to help team up get those Oracle Harpies and up to the purple buff Poppies go to make sure that they get that confirmation for themselves. But a blink in from Silence? Was he trying to steal that one away from it? I'm not sure if he was successful in doing so. Looks like the buff got... How far did that buff get? It looks like Silence picked it up with his ultimate and threw it all the way out of the camp. But that's their big team fighting ultimate down. Ecrom gonna get the persistent gust, but he's gonna dash right into the hands of Marcus. Not sure about that one. The infinite web out of Marcus and the shove against the wall as Draco Marino and Warchi pick up Siriga. And Silence gonna get the last hit on the Warchi with the help of the Fred. Marcus takes down Ecrom despite his best efforts, and even with the basic attack reduction, it's not enough. Marcus cleans up a third kill in the fight, making it 4 on the board for the Poppies.
Sergazek blinks in and just gets completely neutered by Draco Marino using that Watery Grave to negate all of the damage coming out from that Regurgitate Butcher Blades combination. And that just means that, you know, the difference with junglers in that fight. You know, Marcus creates space, still manages to get the kill onto the ADC, forces out a lot of ultimates by himself, and still picks up the kill on the support after the fact. We see Warchi gets a kill into Zergazek there, unfortunately dies for it, because Eilstein wasn't giving up the chase, but picking himself up, just a double kill. It's so far been A-okay for the Pappies, and Marcus especially.
they're just playing so deep in enemy territory with no ward coverage. There's nothing up there for Smileyface to recognize that there's any rotation coming out. I mean, Marcus just walked up onto them for free, and they saw a Draco Marino, they saw a Warchi, but who is keeping tabs on the jungler?
No one's keeping tabs on the jungler. I think that might be the issue here.
Yeah, Marcus is definitely a jungler you'd have to keep tabs on. Between him and Johnny in the EU scene, you have to keep vision on this guy in order to make sure that you just don't get wrapped around like that. I mean, like I said, Marcus just walked up into the fight for free, and then nobody stopped him. As soon as he went in, they're like, oh, persistent gust, he get knocked away. And then we saw E-Chrome dash at him, and it didn't make any sense. Ult for ult out of the supports. Make sure that Bratz isn't able to get anything out of his ultimate as he cancels it out.
Just something to bring up in Sunset goes aggressive once. This is not the fight that I would take. I mean, he's helped by the fact that he still has his cripple field there to stop him getting pushed back into tower. But I don't know, it seems a bit disjointed here so far from Smileyface, a bit rattled maybe so far by the Papis. Something I was just about to point out, have a look at their inventories in the consumable slots. 2 wards on the side of Smileyface, and just up until I could place the ward down on that right-hand side, everyone on the Papis had at least 1 ward.
And not just a ward. Marcus has a sentry ward this early into the game, looking to make a big play with it. Get some kind of vision control, whether it's on the right side of the map. You can see there's a lot of wards by Smileyface on the right-hand side. But left side, looking a little barren for them. One right by their purple and one right at the mid camps. And it looks like that's where Marcus is going to strip it away to make sure they have complete control on the mid lane left side.
Yeah, sentry ward on the top and sentry ward on the bottom left entrances from mid lane. Means that Smileyface have a bit of a dangerous trek going from the mid lane towards that rep buff and beyond. Just a good point there from Creed, looking for Ice Silence. Low has to back out. Mogow could be next up here, but forced to go into Descent into Madness very early on.
And Creed's just going to dash right back into the lane. They get the ult out of the Cthulhu, and that's a huge win for them, knowing that he doesn't have that safety for Mogow. I don't even think they stole the blue buff away. Looks like Mogow was able to secure that one alongside Smileyface, but Bratz gets a solo kill onto Chekio in the mid lane.
What is it with Merlins these days getting solo killed?
If you play Merlin, just expect at least one solo kill to happen for you. I'm sure we'll get to see an instant replay on that very shortly. Draco Marino is going and getting a little bit of experience into the mid lane, but Bratz, I mean, this is, for me, the big shining star for him. We can see, gets the root right over the wall, gets 2 shots of this Hieroglyph Assault, a quick fire on that ultimate, and had enough damage to get the kill. Very surprising.
Yeah, Chekio electing not to use his leap there, or his short-range instant teleport, the combat blink, because maybe it was down? Maybe? Who knows?
Unsure. He may have even used it to get back to the lane a little bit quicker, get out of the tower, and just didn't expect there to be anything, because they don't really have the vision immediately coming out of the lane. Even coming from the mid camps, they don't have that vision that Bratz could have been there, or even if he came from those back camps. So just lack of vision, probably just a little bit of lack of respect in using that flicker so early.
Yeah, and he gets punished for it, but not too much, considering he's still ahead, is Chekio of Bratz, but not by as much as he probably could have been in the past. Papis, most of them congregating around this mid and left-hand side jungle. They could be looking to put themselves into a position to do the Gold Fury quite shortly, and with the Arachne on their side, it can actually be done just by the Arachne.
Serrated Edge, second item out of Marcus.
I like it. I like it a lot. You don't really have to go into boots if you're getting Golden-Bladed Serrated Edge. You're just losing 1% movement speed compared to the boots, 18% compared to 17%. Marcus blinks it aggressively, looking for E-Chrome on the backside, gets it stun off. And because of that Serrated Edge damage, look at what she's taken. 1 build to complete, not going to happen. And Warchi is going to bite the dust for it.
Well, Bratz channeling that ult, but he'll cancel it out as he doesn't have a target to Marcus immediately. Marcus trying to steal that red and will be successful in keeping it away. Dodges the root from the evade and punish, and so Marcus will make it out with a red buff as their consolation after losing Warchi in the fight.
Yeah, it's just unfortunately Ice Silence again picks up nobody with his ult, but does split the team fight in half. And that's good enough for a Xingqiang ult at this stage. You know, you're not necessarily always going to force everyone's speed. You're not going to pick up absolutely everybody every single time. But the best thing you can do if you miss your ultimate is to split the team fight into two, and that's just isolated War Chi in between those tier 1 and tier 2 towers, and that's what led to his death.
And as a Cupid, no CC immunities, you have to use your beads to get out of that ultimate. That just sets you up for death on any other rotation following. Bratz has those hieroglyphic shots, so he's using to clear out that mid camp. So experience goes the way of Smileyface for those right camps. And with red buff coming back up, Papis will make sure just to go and get that farm and buff for themselves. Bratz looking over the wall, looking for something, maybe seeing if he can either steal away a mid camp from them or get a little bit of poke before they come back in lane, but will not be successful in either attempt as he just clears the wave instead.
Yeah, and he's going to clear up his left-hand side Harpy as well. Ryan, left-hand side Harpy for the Papis is going to go just to Drake Arena by himself. Eventually, when he clears that up, just the Curse of the Guardians forced to stay down with basic attack for 12,000 years until you get the camp, and he finally picks it up himself. That also does mean he doesn't get stack on the Gauntlet of Thieves. Turn our attention back over to the solo lane. Mogao and Creed still slapping it out, still having just a fun time over here. Mogao going for his traditional I'm going to build whatever I want build, whilst Creed goes into more of the traditional solo lane build that you'll be seeing for most Cervix these days.
Look, I don't expect anything different from Mogao at this point when it comes to his solo lane builds. He really loves going to this Chronos Pendant, whether it's second item or fourth item. He has built this Chronos Pendant almost religiously in that solo lane. Sometimes it's worked for him, other times it's come back to bite him pretty hard. Marcus goes with the blink into the mid lane. Necrom has to ult for War Chi, and unfortunately for Bratz, there's no one to save his life. Ultimate out of the support. Gonna grab one, but he's gonna get thrown against the wall, so Chekio's not gonna get thrown into the tower instead. So they're being chased down and onto the infinite web and the depths of the waters. Marcus is gonna be able to pick up one, make that two as he grabs the kill. Mogao up into the descent into madness he will go, but at half health, he doesn't stand much against 4 players. Gets a good knockup onto Chekio, and that'll force the flicker back with rotation out of E-Chrome. That'll force the Papis to split up, but they're doing a 3-2 split. Looks like they're going for both objectives.
I think they're going to be able to get this. They've definitely got the Pyromancer for free, 100%. Gold Fury going to be burnt down here by Merlin. Just not taking as much damage as it probably could have done because of the weird pathing that happened there. But all that just happens because Marcus decides to dive Frost underneath tower, force out both relics, and still have the disrespect to kill him at the very end. And Papis to get the Gold Fury as well. Chrome dashes aggressively just so we could get back into position, get back to lane as quickly as possible. All that started with a dive. Bratz a bit too far forward and gets caught out by Marcus on the Arachne, and from there, it just fell into place for the Papis.
I thought Creed was just going to let E-Chrome walk up there for a second. I was like, somebody please stop this Jing Wei. Like, I know his communication to the team was, you guys got this? All right, cool, you guys got this. Wait, are you sure you guys got this? Oh, there's a Jing Wei here. Quick, got to react. I mean, that's how it felt with his comms onto that one. It's like, oh, guys, Jing Wei's still here. Got to take care of this. But we see the kill into the mid lane. Just a quick dive by Marcus. I mean, when you're level 14 at this stage of the game's ranking, now level 16 at the moment of speaking. 5 kills on the board, lots of movement speed, and most importantly, lots of damage. There's just no escape for this mid laner.
Yeah, it was just a bit unfortunate as well on the side of Ice Silence. He gets a good ult off onto Chekio, forces out the Aegis before he picks him up, but just clips the wall as he tries to throw him underneath the tower. That would have been a lot of damage pumped onto him. Sergazek doesn't have to go as aggressive with his ultimate, and they may trade out 1 kill for that point, at which point the Gold Fury doesn't go down.
Bratz hits level 15, has his Chronos Pendant and his Spear of the Magus now finished up. But on the flip side, Chekio's gone for a very early Soul Gem. And typically, we don't see this item until 5th, maybe even your 6th item pickup. Why so early on it?
Just wants to get that bit of passive online early on, bit of extra healing and sustain more than anything else. Doesn't necessarily care about that extra bit of damage. Has got that in spades with the fact that he is A, Merlin, and B, has the Spear of the Magus online. But it's still also transitions well into that late game, that Soul Gem, just because of the fact that it gives you power based on your power for your abilities.
Mogao forced into the madness very early on. Down to about a 3rd health. The Kappa chasing him. But no, not too much more gain to be on there as Ice Silence used his ult, as well as Marcus and Draco Marino. Serga has to jump over the wall to get away from Creed and Marcus. Marcus looking for a position to blink over the wall, and he will manage to find it. Creed going to take up the tower, and he'll now flip over to Marcus. Siriga and Mogao teaming up. The root on the Marcus is going to force the purification beads out of the jungler because he was taking up the tower the whole time. He will fall to Mogao. Big shutdown onto the jungler. Siriga still chasing Creed. Gonna get a little bit of damage off onto him. The slow is good. And a Mogao, the push under the tower by Draco. Maybe enough to save Creed for the time being. Dashford leap. Creed will be able to make it out. Not sure about his blue buff. Draco Marino still holding strong at the solo. And Draco's gonna throw Siriga against the wall. Blue buff was stolen away. Might look to try and turn this now because Chekio's making a rotation. They might be able to pick up Mogao here. No dash available to him. Chekio coming through, but he's very low on mana. Not sure how much they're going to be able to get off this rotation out of him. Silence hitting low. Ultimate back online. He picks up 2 of them and runs at a quick beads out of Chekio. That'll be the end of the fight.
It beats because he wanted to just try and turn around on the fight, but the second he gets his second ability cast, he just has no mana to continue to chase whatsoever. So might be a misuse of beats there in that instance for Chekio. But good signs of life there from Smileyface as they take that fight successfully. Bit of an overextension there from Marcus and iCreed, specifically more so Marcus, but you know, you win some, you lose some, as they say.
Well, unfortunately for Marcus in that last fight, Creed stepped out of the tower with that charge prey, and that caused him to tank it up the entire time. And well, an Arachne tanking a tower is much less effective than a Sobek tanking the tower. I saw him take about half his health as he gets shoved against the wall by Draco Marino. About a level down, almost all across the board, aside from the jungle, where you see a 3-level differential, and Marcus looking for silence. He's going to get the sky uppercut out of him. Double leap down on his silence, and that'll be a quick disengage for Smileyface.
Oh, Marcus is probably getting ice on the tower. He might be looking for Bronson as well. It is going to be just, you know, a quick engage, and Marcus up to that infinite web, looking to land down on the backside, but just creating space for the time being. So Zek goes so aggressive and actually going to pick up 1, should be able to pick up 2, does indeed, and gets out for his troubles. Smileyface turning this one around.
That's a massive ult out of Bratz too. I think he hit all 3 players with that, or at least got 2 of them out of it, making sure to hit Draco and Chekio, which allowed for Siriga to really set up the W key left click out of the Bakasura. Has that hasten katana online now, so he is more than capable of sticking to anybody as long as he can get that first basic attack off.
Yeah, and Zek follows up beautifully from Bratz, but it's all good and well winning one fight. Can you win it A, multiple times, and B, can you win it and take an objective against the Papis? They've taken step 1 in the journey to beating, you know, the second best team in Europe, but it's all about building on that first step and getting steps 2 and 3 correct. And this could be step 2 here with the Primal Fury. Good leash, meaning Creed can't steal that with his lurking in the waters. That does mean they have to fight this.
Oh, and Silence is going to get tossed around like a ragdoll. Big ult on a Warchi out of Bratz, and that'll force the carry out. That's going to allow the solo there. Mogao to dive into the back onto Marcus. Mogao gets 1. Creed falls as well. That's 2 on the board for Smileyface's. Bratz gets the credit for it. Mogao going to get a little bit of a heal to the rest of his team and continue to play zone duty, so they can go for this Primal Fury if they try and start it back up.
Yeah, but unfortunately it's under the guise of the Oracles. Silence goes in looking for Chekio. Warchi's back from base after taking all that damage from the Ultimate. Warchi kills Silence in the back. I think he just got hit by the Gold Fury telling it. Zek trying to kill Warchi, but that's just saying it's too good. Mogao finally puts an end to the Cupid. Draco Bruno's next up on the list, but I think he's going to get away underneath the tower.
That's a 3 for 2. And Chekio still being chased by Bratz, but Bratz misses the evade and punish, throws up the wall. And that'll force Chekio to walk away because that Spirit Magus proc on top of him. Blinking from Draco Marino. He's going to get the evade and punish out of Bratz. He'll be able to walk away. All the while, the Primal Fury has still been going on. Draco Marino's going to try and get in there, but the Kappa just off the mark. And Smileyface will finally drop the Fury. Chrome is going to go over towards the back camp. Make sure to drop those ones down. Give himself a little bit of extra experience on the board. So Smileyface keeping themselves alive in this one. Just a little under 3k down after that last Fury.
Yeah, and, well, that's step 2 of taking down the Papis, taking an objective after winning a fight. Now you just have to do that on repeat for the most part, and they put themselves back into a good position in this game, put themselves within touching distance of the Papis, and 22 minutes in, that's, you know, a lot stronger than what we saw out of Donkey Youth in week number 1, but they still lost 2-0, and it doesn't matter how you lose in the end. All that matters is the result.
Well, to be fair, I think they've made it further than Donkey Hoof did, because Donkey Hoof's games were, I think, 19 and maybe 22, 23 minutes. They only had 42 minutes of total game time against the Papis in week number 1, so Smileyface are already holding up a little bit stronger, and we saw that in their matchup in week number 2, where they were able to hold up against Donkey Hoof, but managing up against the Papis, they're still down, and that's not the position you want to be this far into the game against the Papis. Is if you're not ahead of the Papis at this stage, it's only going to get worse, because we've seen how well they excel in the late game. Quick stun from Marcus onto Siriga. Persistent Gust and the agility out of E-Chrome. That's a full rotation from Smileyface. A little bit late for Creed on his rotation. Draco Marino taking a lot of damage, even with the Thorns and the Shell Spike. Ultimate out of Brotz off the mark. So Marcus able to get up into that infinite web. Now looking to poke out Chekio. He's going to have to make a quick flicker, but a quicker evade and punish out of Brotz. Diving onto Chekio, but he has his beats and Aegis to get away from Marcus and Creed. Chekio still being dove in the back by Mogao. Up into the madness he will go. But Chekio is healing up thanks to that Soul Gem, keeping him alive. Able to find one little spot out, but over the wall, Mogao will find him. But I can't say the same for Mogao, as he is getting junked down. Has a shell to keep him alive for the time being. Draco Marino gets one push, but Marcus on the spider picks up Cthulhu and gets another kill on the board for the Papis. And a blink by Marcus with the final basic will drop down Siriga. Might be able to pick Silence. The pluck just off the mark. One more basic, and Creed gets him.
Chrome, last member standing, going to use that beat effectively. Just putting out as much damage as he can. Marcus waiting on that web cooldown just to try and give him a bit more chase here. Wants the spiders to tank up as best he can. Watchy giving chase as well. Persistent Gust down, Agility down, and this will be the point where if Marcus hadn't used his blink before, he'd definitely use it now. Know exactly where he's. Oh, that's a very good wraparound by E-Chrome.
Oh,
that should get him out. What awareness.
That's just such a great little juke out there, but unfortunately for him, that leads to a potential Fire Giant for Papis. 3 players on.
Yeah.
Maybe at that point, you chase him, you get the kill. You chase him, you don't find him, you don't get the kill. But hey, there's a Fire Giant on the board, so regardless, they get what they want. They either get a kill or they get an objective. They're going to get a pluck on a Brotz, and the Fire Giant around their waist. Persistent Gust out. Marcus getting a lot more damage than I think he was waiting for, but he'll dive under the tower, and Brotz is gone.
Brotz was charging up that Divine Judgment, was about to fire it, and Marcus landed on him and said, no. Just stop charging that. You don't even get a chance to react and press the button. Watchy dove on here by Circus, but a good Fields of Love. It's going to separate the rest of the team and stop that chase onto him. Draco Marino is going to get rooted there by the Maya. Pushes Iton's back into the rest of the team, but Mogao is going into madness and just trying to create the zone and trying to create push for Smileyface here. Papis are having none of it. They're out already.
Yeah, a very quick disengage by the Papis. Able to get everybody out of there. So all 5 still with the Fire Giant around their waist. Meanwhile, Smileyface are down 2 players, and they have to back away as this objective goes the way of the Papis. 14-10. They were only of about 2, maybe 3,000 gold earlier, and well, that has swung wide open to a very fast 7,200 gold.
Yeah, I think the experience graph tells the story of this game quite well. Quite even for the first few minutes, you know, a bit of a lead built up by the Papis. Then they sort of put their foot on the accelerator a bit. Smileyface come back roaring in one of the fights, take a couple of objectives. Looks like they're in control of the game, but just all of a sudden, Papis, they've woken up. They've entered that Super Saiyan form, and now they're here to play.
Looking like they might be waiting for Primal, or they could just be grouping out to push up this left-hand side. Everybody's looking for Creed on the right. This is going to be a quick call-out from the solo saying, hey, guys, all 5 of them are here. I'm dead, but all 5 are over here, so please, for the love of God, do something somewhere. And it looks like it'll be the first tower on the left side of the map that will go down. A quick follow-up immediately, but it's tier 2. It's going to be a 5v4 if the team fight does break out. And with a quick spot out from Marcus, he'll recognize that the team needs to retreat. Warchi just going straight back to the base. Meanwhile, Marcus starting up the Fury, but quickly thinking different of it. Silence with an ultimate, but they'll get the Watery Grave out of Draco Marino. Dashing aggressively from E-Chrome, get some damage onto Draco Marino, but not a whole lot. They're not able to get much damage going through and starting the Primal Fury themselves. 5 versus 4. The Papis do have that Fields of Love, but Smileyface at the Primal Fury. Final Judgment off the mark. Not going to find anybody. That's the call for Marcus to go in, but he gets knocked up into the sky. And the Hieroglyphic Assault is enough damage to take him down with the help of Siriga. Draco Marino on full retreat. Warchi gets chunked down by Evade and Punish. Out of the sky comes E-Chrome, and a couple more shots out of Prots will end Warchi's life.
Wow. I mean, that's all you can really say. Good team play on the Smileyface once again. I mean, I thought the fight wasn't going to go their way when Brotz misses his final jump. It doesn't fit anybody, but just kicking and dragging his team, streaming into the forefront of this game and into the Papis Tier 2 tower. They're still a bit behind in terms of goal, but at this point, they don't care. They're here to play. They're here to win this game, rather than just look good during it.
I mean, when we talk about a strong, consistent player for Smileyface, it's always been coming up Brotz. He has been a star performer for this Smileyface team. You can see what started it all is after they pushed them away from the Fury, immediately Smileyface able to take that objective quick and clean. And right there you see the missed ultimate. Silence gets pulled in for a bunch of damage, but big factor for me was the huge crits out of E-Chrome after the Persistent Gust and the Hieroglyphic Assault shots out of Brotz. Brotz putting in so much damage, but E-Chrome with his crits have just been insane.
I'm sorry, how much RNG can he get? Like, it just dashes in and instantly gets a crit onto Warchi for 591 or something ridiculous like that before he ults. That is unbelievable RNG. This is going to stack more crits on top of that. He only had a Rage and a Wind Demon just before then. Every single shot, it seems to be critting for E-Chrome, and that just... It's impossible to fight into someone who gets that fortunate with his basic attacks. But the more crit he builds, the less fortunate it becomes, and the more it becomes just a case of, does he hit his shots? Yes, he does. And that's what E-Chrome does. He is there to hit all of the shots.
E-Chrome sacrificed his goat today to make sure that he could pray to the RNG god to grant him blessings and favor so he may hit all of his crits when necessary. And you can see him put it out here. Only 1, 2, and 6. That was really... Hasn't been getting the kills on the board, but he's definitely been putting some damage numbers up in these fights. Now looking towards the Fire Giants at the spawn in just under 10 seconds. Mogao, the front line up here against Creed and Draco Marino, having a bit of a ward scuffle between the tanks.
A Fire Giant has spawned, but there's going to be a slight change to it in 15 seconds. It goes enhanced, which points it gains a nice purple aura and gives additional benefits. It doubles its regeneration stats. It gives it a tiny bit more health and mana, obviously. It gives you a bit more power, a tiny bit of penetration, but most importantly, reduces backdoor protections to none. So you don't have to worry about backdoor protections anymore when you're looking to invade onto an enemy tower or Phoenix.
Well, Stone of Gaia, the last item online for Mogao to round out his build before he sells the boots. Still has that Chronos pendant in there for a little bit of power and cooldown reduction, just to make sure he can keep that near maximum CDR available to him. On the flip side, you see a Stone of Gaia out of Creed. Very popular item that's been back on the rise for solos and even some support players too.
Yeah, once we transitioned away from building all this massive mana sustain through a bruiser item, we sort of had to look at different alternatives, and Stone of Gaia just stood up there as one of the best items that could be, quick fill into that slot. A lot of health got buffed very recently as well. Regenerates a bit more of your health every time. Every second now up from 0.4 to 0.5. Just that tiny bit of change, that tiny bit of, meta shifting has allowed this item to stand in fruition once again.
Mogao spamming those abilities, dropping the Mire down just to get a little bit of zone control for his team. Draco going to push Mogao through the Fire Giant pit, and that's going to get the Fire Giant started up here. Mogao has angered El Gigante de Fuego just by dashing near him. That's just the power that this Cthulhu has. Hands in with the side, and Chrome gets hit by a big chunk of damage from the Cupid. Marcus going to chase him down the shell, keeping him alive through the spiders. Ultimate out of Silence is not going to hit because Marcus gets up into the web, and Draco Marino gets one. Silence onto the ground along with Marcus, and he will fall. Marcus gets the last basic attack. Big pluck out of Creed will throw Frost against the wall. Quick evade and punish will get away for the time being, but Serga has nothing left to do but fight back. And unfortunately for him, he's fighting against the world, and Warchi wins it. Broad shoved against the wall, evade and punish for the quick turnaround. The Kappa and the Heart Bomb are more than enough damage. 4 fall for Smileyface. The Papis don't even care about Fire Giant. They're going straight for the win. Mid lane tower down. Mid lane Phoenix, the next one on the docket. And only Mogao left to defend against 5 strong of the Papis. And it looks like game 1 is going to be going their way. They throw Mogao into the back. The Warchi and Creed are just going to go right on top of the Titan as Marcus picks up the Deicide, and game 1 to the Papis.
So, Arachne's good.
Yeah, Marcus Arachne is pretty good.
Arachne's strong. Arachne probably deserves a ban.
Maybe. Kind of like how Genetics Terra deserved a ban last game, but we didn't see that. But do you really warrant just an Arachne ban? I mean, they did a Kali and a Thor last time around. Do you say, yes, this was the problem, don't allow an Arachne when there's so much more available?
And honestly, I think the issue that they had there was Cupid. And I know that sounds a bit weird, but that last team fight hinged on literally just Cupid being Cupid and doing a Cupid thing, which is ulting with the Fields of Love and forcing everyone to spread out. It forced out a lot of damage, forced Echrome to ult defensively. He ate a hard bomb for his troubles. Everybody else was too far away from him to help peel off Marcus, who then dives in on the back line. And 4-4 and 11, not the biggest, most flashing, not the most standout score line compared to Marcus's 11-3-3. But the damage numbers are still close, and the disruption, the healing that he brought, the early game pressure that he brought, combining with that teamfight presence, meant that this Cupid was a real thorn in the side here for Smileyface. And if I'm Smileyface, I don't really change much about my draft. I'm looking at what do I want to take away from the Papis, and the first thing on my mind is, can we not let Marcus, go that much without response? And can we get rid of this Cupid, please?
Yeah, especially when this Cupid puts out top damage for his team. 3rd highest damage in the game behind Bratz and Mogao, but when your Cupid is putting out 22,000 damage, more than Marcus was putting out. Marcus had 11 kills versus the 4 out of Warchi. But this team with the Papis, between Chekio and Warchi, both of them flex with this Cupid so well, you just can't keep giving this god to them because they're going to take it every day of the week.
Yeah, it's not like Cupid is a niche pick where you don't really get practice against it, which is why it's not, really something that plays well against it. It's picked every single week. It is a top pick, top ban right now in the SPL. It's a top pick, top ban right now in ranked. It is a top pick, top ban right now in this level of play. So you have no excuse to not know exactly how it can play, how you counter it, if you want to try and counter it. At this point, it's just uncomfortability on the side of Smileyface. Just they haven't had the practice against it, I don't want to say, as a team. And when you're giving it to players who are as comfortable as the Papis on it, you do need to have a plan for it. They just didn't this game.
Yeah, they either need to have the answer to fight against it in the second game, or they need to take it away either by picking it themselves or banning it outright, because I just can't imagine a world where Warchi or Chekio are allowed to pick it. We'll see if they make that adjustment here in game number 2 as we go into the picks and bans for the second game. But for me, I mean, you can even see it. You can't really even see Cupid here in top picks or bans on the charts, but that's just because it's the Papis are playing this god to such a high degree that against this team, you've got to take it away.
Yeah, if you saw individualized top picks and top bans down below, then you would most likely see Cupid on the side of the Papis being picked up a lot, and maybe even banned against it a couple times. But the more Smileyface do take first pick yet again, they'd like to maybe draft something similar, like I suggested they should do, because like I said, their draft was fine, just a couple of issues on the other side. Hopefully they take those away, as Morrigan and Persephone, 2 majors in the mid lane, not going to happen.
And those have just been standard bans that we've seen time and time again. But Sobek being banned away here, taking that away from the solo laner. Creed really, it's kind of a nuisance to Smileyface, but I'm not sure if that's the nuisance that they still want to try and deal with here. Yes, Sobek is annoying to fight against, but I'm still looking for a Cupid ban or a Cupid first pick here from Smileyface, because Papis cannot be allowed to get that Hunter again.
I mean, if they're going to let Cupid through, you know who I'd like to see?
Who that?
Ares.
Well, it's going to be the Ao Kwang once again banned away from Marcus after his performance on it in the first couple of weeks of play. And a Merlin banned away. Gonna take that one off. Good ban from the Papis. Make sure that Brotz can't get his hands onto that one. And I'd like to honestly see Smileyface pick up a God for Brotz a little bit earlier on. They've been real content these last couple of weeks with just letting Brotz have the last pick, but I want to see him on like one of his namesake first picks in a backs against the wall situation like this.
I want to see him play Vulcan. I think I totally agree with you. I think the Vulcan is what gave Smileyface notoriety, put their names on the map, and is what put Brotz down here as a household name in the Challenger circuit here in the European side of things. So, like, let's just let the beast loose. You know, let him play what he wants to play as early as possible, even if it means putting it into a slightly worse matchup than he would ordinarily get. Just take it early on. And the dual lane for the Papis looks like it's complete early on. Xing Chen and Jing Wei taken up, and they half listened. They have decided to take up their mid lane choice early, but it's going to be the Agni instead of the Vulcan.
I think between Vulcan and Agni, these are the top two picks for Brotz. And while I would like to see Vulcan doesn't really fare well against the Xing Chen, just because backfires, in all honesty, it's not an escape. You're not getting away from anybody with that ability. So I like the Agni pick here just because of the Xing Chen. You can get that quick dash away from the Whirlwind of Rage and Steel after it stops charging for about 12 years. But onto the flip side, the Papis go for a very early jungle pick with the Kali.
Oh, it's not often that you say Kali was an early game jungle pick, but here we are in this day and age. Kali with a good amount of stun, as well as the dot damage coming out from her Lash. You combine that with a Crusher, which is where we've seen her be most successful, especially going for that early game ability, transitioning into a late game basic attack build, and it does wonders against the Agni, because the Agni has to stand still to fire his meteors, allows Kali to close the distance, and once that stun goes off, once the dash is down from the Agni, the Kali just can chainsaw away. All run taken off the table for Smileyface. Papis looking a bit more both sides of the spectrum, taking away the Bakasura jungle because of how many issues Surgasek did provide in the last game, but the Emoja, just a standard ban.
Yeah, I was just about to say, can we talk about how Yemoja made it through 6 picks and nobody even bothered to look at her, and then gets banned in the second phase? Just, I guess everybody forgot about her for a moment.
I did.
We both did. I think everybody, players and us included, we're like, huh, Yemoja, I see her pop up at the bottom. I'm like, oh yeah, she's a thing that exists. We were talking all about, you know, Cupid and Arachne and all these other, and Cthulhu. We all just kind of forgot about Yemoja for a moment. The Papis went, oh yeah, we probably should take that away real quick.
Yeah, they just go, okay, we need to ban out stuff. Well, let's ban out some Guardians. They click on the Guardians tab, and then there's just Yemoja sitting down at the bottom, and they go, guys, we forgot to ban this, or pick this. Let's rectify it now.
Yeah, let's get that one away. Soul will be the next pickup for the Papis going into... I'm not even going to say going into the mid lane, because we've seen... I believe it was Dardas who was taking the Jing Wei into mid before. So we've seen Jing Wei mid a few times before up
Fafnir.
at the upper level. Kuzenbo. But I would like to see Fafnir on the flip side for Papis.
Fafnir, right here. Just,
over,
you know.
Over there. Over all the way over there.
Like right down there. That's not Fafnir.
That's not Fafnir. That's the next letter in the alphabet that start. Yeah, the G there. No, you're supposed to go one back. Fafnir. Fafnir. You know, he's part dragon, part dwarf. He's a dwarf that turns into a dragon, and you went with the elephant. A little bit different.
Yeah, I mean, right now, I honestly think the Fafnir would have been a fantastic pickup, but I mean, I suppose the Ganesh is also really, really good because it stops, you know, the backline dive a bit more. It allows a bit more time for peel for the Jing Wei and the Soul. But both of those don't really need the peel. They just need to allow them to go for it. They need to just allow them to unleash their chainsaws, especially for the Kali, because they all have their own ability to stay alive and elongate their lifespans. So you don't need this protective guardian. You want to facilitate the dive.
Honestly, I really don't mind the Ganesh here, though. Like you said, they don't really need the peel for themselves, but even in the event that this Kuzubo manages to get to the backline, being able to stop him out of his dash is so powerful, making sure that Mogo has to delay his transformation in the Cthulhu. I like the pickup here, and it is Draco Marino on the Ganesh of all players. It is one of Draco Marino's signature gods, so I guess if anything, I'm not mad because Draco Marino picked it up, but I'm not mad with the pickup as a whole. I would have just liked to see the Fafnir, like you were saying.
Yeah, I mean the Drake Marino on Ganesh, beautiful. It's match made in heaven. It's not the worst pickup in the world, but the Fafnir would definitely have been my favorite one. But on the side of Smileyface, just pretty standard draft all round. Good pressure throughout the map. Sergazek is the only a bit of a wild card playing a warrior in the jungle rather than the assassins, like we used to be seeing since SMITE got nerfed a bit. Drake Marino taking a lot of damage early on, forcing Warchi to take some on himself just so we can get out.
Oh. And that's the unfortunate part of Ganesha up against, or really any god, in all honesty, against a Kuzubo this early on into the matchup. There's nothing you can really do to answer to that dash. Now, once level 2, level 3 hits, they might have something to say about it, and there's the blink and immediately gets the beads out of Warchi, and that's just the pressure that Kuzubo has in dual lane.
Yeah, once more you combine that with a Ram, who's just able to basically attack through the minions. It just means that anybody who's get caught by that Kuzubo play is just going to eat a lot of damage.
Well, Chekio taking the Jingwei into the mid lane, so we do get to see a little bit more of the mid lane hunter this time around. Honestly, not the worst spot. I mean, you just want to get farm on the Jingwei, get to late game, get crit, and your passive will make sure you get to lane just as quickly as if you're in duo, if not a little bit faster.
And what's more, that you put Warchi in a bit of a safer position when he's up against E-Chrome and Isolance rather than up against Sergazek and Brot, because that long-range stun from the Agni, the fact that he will be able to get into anti-heal a lot earlier, means that Warchi will have a much more difficult time in the mid lane. Warchi Sol will have much more difficult time in the mid lane on Chekio rather than being piloted in the dual lane by Sol.
Brot's is going to go ahead and clear out the minions and make his way back towards base and start looking to get his boots online early. Warchi has been taking a ton of poke from E-Chrome. Draco Marino back to nearly full health for himself, and Warchi just slowly healing himself back up thanks to some of the potions and that radiance from his first ability, making sure to grant him a little bit of extra health. And Draco and Silence going to fight over this purple buff, but luckily for Draco Marino, he's got Hand of the Gods still, and so he's able to secure that buff for himself. Make sure he keeps the experience and the buff on their side of the map.
Yeah, well, look, he's making a rotation as well. It's the junglers over to the right-hand side. Marcus going to get stunned out inside the blue buff. Still secures it for himself. Morgan manages to get the pressure over Creed, which is what's allowed that rotation to be effective from Sergazek. But no invade happened successfully. Creed's going to be able to just teleport back to that tier 2 tower, pick up his blue buff. I'll be okay.
Well, E-Chrome full health and mana on this ROM has just been steadily farming up into this lane. Silence looking to make an aggressive play towards the jungle. Unfortunately, minion behind him, so they know that he's on the way for this Alpha Harpy. Did he steal that? It looked like he had stolen it, so Silence getting a little bit of extra experience for himself.
Yeah, and good on him. Just able to take anything away you can at this point. It's always a good look. I mean, Marcus was in the area looking for a bit of a fight, so I think by going out into that side of the jungle, Silence does spawn him out, and it does mean he's unable to get that invade off successfully. But successful invade does happen on the red buff, so Papis do get the first minor win of the game.
Man, you talk about going from two different time frames of the game for gods. You go from an Arachne to a Kali, and Marcus is still playing this Kali as if he was playing Arachne, and going for that very early red buff invade. No remorse, no cares in the world for his own life. If he's able to steal that buff away, dies, whatever. We got the red buffs. That's off of Brats.
Yeah, and I think that's just been the aim of the game for the Papis here, is to make sure that Chekio has a comfortable, easy game. Also make sure that Brot is under about as much duress as you can be, unable to influence the game like he was able to do so back at the end of Split 2. So far, pretty much standard game as you would expect. No deaths just yet, but the Papis have the more efficient farm, just growing their lead ever so slightly now at about 400. That's off the back of a couple of invades, as well as just keeping the back camps as down as early much as possible.
We're looking for another blue buff deal here is Smileyface, and they'll be successful as 3 players rotated over for that one, so no chance that Marcus or Creed will be able to secure that one for themselves. Instead, they'll get a mid camp. Marcus makes a quick turnaround to notice that the enemy jungler is right on his backside, and he'll get back to the safety of his tier 1 tower. And Siriga, level 5 down to level 6, so losing out on that early pressure. Those invades have been coming up so big for Marcus so far.
Yeah, but in terms of the invades that he's getting, he's not really been able to get the fights that he's wanted to either. He's spending a lot of time in the enemy jungle, spending a lot of time looking for as much farm as possible, like you should really be doing as a jungler. But as somebody like a Kali, someone like a Thor, a Hombat, I want to be trying to gank as often as possible, and no signs so far about who's the mark for Marcus. Most of the time when you're up against a Kali, you'll know who the mark is by this point.
Well, Silence looking to make a rotation over here, but Warchi very quickly and very safely gets back to his tower. You can see that Echrome is just going to hold the minions to his side of the map to make sure that he can deny as much experience as possible from Warchi. Able to try and build a little bit of lead for himself. Brod's going to stare down 3 in mid lane with the side of Silence next to him. They'll make sure that he'll be safe for the time being. Siriga looking to make a wraparound here. Try and grab something, whether it's a camp or a kill. It's going to be hard for him to do so. The tower, Draco Marino gets pushed in, stunned out by Brod, drops the last bomb, as well as the Dharmic Pillars, and dashes away, but right into the hands of Siriga, who chases him down, gets the blink, and gets the shot from the dash after First Blood goes to Smileyface.
Yeah, if you put money down on First Blood going to Smileyface, congratulations, you made yourself a fair bit more money, because I don't think they were good odds to get First Blood in either of these 2 games. And Warshi just having to back it up a bit more than he would have liked. Thanks to rotation from Silence and Echrome just playing aggressively. I mean, Warshi's had a bit of a rougher game this time, because of the amount of pressure that's been put over onto this duo side. But once he gets that Ring of Hecate, I think you'll see a completely different dynamic in this matchup, and just see Soul run at Rom for free.
Yeah, you'll see a much more, a higher level of comfortability when it comes down to wanting to box as a Soul versus a Rom. Early on, until you get that ring, it's kind of like, yeah, you know what? I'm fine just kind of getting experience. But once he's got ring online, and, well, once maybe Marcus gets a kill for himself with the Supernova, Warchi able to pick up first kill for the Papis. Once that Ring of Hecate comes online, you're going to see an entirely different Warchi come into this lane.
Oh yeah, it's going to be ridiculously different. It's going to be ridiculously hard to box into him, given the sustain that he has already in his kit. And without any anti-heal so far on the side of Smileyface, I'm thinking it needs to be built up sooner rather than later. Otherwise, Scarly and the Soul are going to run rampant in these fights.
Mogal going to take a little bit of poke in solo lane, but a little bit of poke for a little bit of poke, nothing too crazy. Mogal still going with his tank boots and a Chronos pendant build that we saw last game, and Echrome and Siriga team up to take down Warchi, who was pushed up very far in that dual lane, got chased all the way back to that tier 1 tower.
Yeah, and he wasn't able to get out. On the right hand side, I saw this Broston Mogal get out after fighting, I want to say, but it doesn't look like they were fighting over much. I think it may have just been a bit of an attempt to catch somebody out on those mid camps, just thwarted a bit by the members of the Papis.
Siriga can get mid camp stolen away, and we can see the rotation from the jungler here to get that kill onto Warchi. It's about a halfway point into the lane, gets them before the Disapparate goes off. So Warchi wasn't even able to get into that safety, probably just a quarter, maybe a half second away from their safety net, but I imagine there was going to be a very quick turnaround and dive onto that tower regardless.
Oh, absolutely. They would not have let him live if he did manage to end up surviving at that point. Golf Fury going to be looked at slightly by Smileyface as they secure the Oracles. Papis find themselves behind in this game, but how many times have we heard that before and then coupled it with the Papis have won this game?
Yeah, that's kind of the namesake of the Papis at this point is, oh man, we fell behind by a couple of 1,000 gold at 15, 20 minutes, but hey, look, it's 25 minutes and it's time for us to win the game. And that's just how the Papis have always played. It's very rare we see the Papis get a huge early game swing. We saw it week number 1 against Doggy, but that's a Papis unlike any that we've ever seen before. Quick beads expended out of E-Chrome. Blinking from Marcus. He's going to get the stun. Dharmic Pillars dropped. E-Chrome stuck in the midst of them. The Watery Graves disrupting Marcus a lot. But the turn of Fate and Warchi will be enough to get the kill on Zaz. Sirga going for the quick dive into the back. Looking for possibly Draco Marine with the execute. But the quick dash is going to get him out of there. Brat's looking for something over the wall. But he's not able to find Marcus. Just barely off the mark with that bomb.
Oh, but they know what Chekio is. They're hunting him down, Zergazek. No access to his blink because he's literally just used it. Ice Silence looking aggressive as well. Around the back. Force out the beads. Force out the airstrike. And with 2 big safety nets gone there for Chekio, we could imagine that Smileyface will look to abuse that and give as much farm, as much comfortability to Brost as possible.
And that's what Smileyface has to do, is they have to make Bratz as comfortable in this mid lane as they can. Let him get the farm, let him get his levels online, because Bratz is going to be the one to carry this team in the late game. Sirga, his job right now is to get them to the late game and allow Bratz to be put into that carry role, allow E-Chrome to get that farm on this ROM, and be that late game hyper carry.
I think both of them will do extremely well into the late game. Ram, as you said, it's a nice hyper carry, but once you have Agni with 6 items, none of them being a defensive option, none of them being boots, he probably has one of the most terrifying ult combos in the game, just because he has it for free a lot. It's very difficult to determine when to beat, when to Aegis on that ultimate, because you just don't know what's going to follow up.
And that's kind of the mix-up that you have with the Agni, is he can bomb stun, he can flame wave stun, he can, if he really wants to, dash stun as well. With all 3 abilities able to couple in with the stun, it's so difficult to know when you should bead, when you should Aegis, and how much damage those bombs are going to do, because you're like, oh, well, he gets 3, so they can't really do that much damage, can they? And then you get hit by one for 600 damage, you go, oh, yeah, oh, they hit that hard.
Yeah, and they're on 18-second cooldown each individually, meaning with 40% CDR, you can have 7.2 seconds off it, putting it down to 10.8 seconds per bomb.
Which is about what a normal mage ability without cooldown comes down to. You can see you can have 3 of those up at a time. A pushback is going to force Marcus. He can't even get into the destruction passive, or destruction ultimate, I should say. Brat's getting the credit for the kill off the dot damage from the flame dash. Gold Fury started up. Bratz will dash through just to get a little bit of extra damage onto it. Gold Fury down to half. Draco Marino, Warchi in the area. Draco Marino doesn't have his ult. Warchi does have his to try and go for the supernova, and he will steal that one away. Warchi with the credit for that one. Up into the sky is E-Chrome looking for the sides. Gets some good damage onto Warchi, but Draco Marino body blocks the execute. But it doesn't matter because Sirga is here for the double kill quickly for Smileyface. 6-2, but the objective for the Papis.
That's a big, big play for Warchi, because if he doesn't steal that and the Gold Fury still goes away Smileyface, not only does Smileyface get the objective, but they get all those kills afterwards, and from just a 454 gold lead in favor of the Papis, it would have been 2,000-3,000 in favor of Smileyface.
My God. All right, well, they say you can steal our objective, but we'll steal yours right back. As Sirga walks over and just shield slams it for his own objective steal. Pyromancer goes the way of Smileyface. And you can see the return fire here. Warchi just drops the supernova and one more basic, and that's all she wrote for a quick and easy steal. Now, they lost their life afterward, but they weren't even expected to get out of there after that objective anyways. Meanwhile, Marcus gets killed onto Ice Silenced as we come back from the replay of the Gold Fury.
Yeah, Marcus just able to get in and get out with the use of that Destruction Ultimate. Picks up a kill onto the support. And you can see he still was still quite fairly damaged. So it wasn't a mark kill. It was just what he could pick up at the time to get out. But now that he has that Haste Katana, as well as getting that Crusher, it should be a lot easier for him to get a kill onto the ones that he wants to kill, i.e. his marks.
Well, you can see the Water Grave was expended, but Marcus still had the stun afterward, the Lash and Destruction Ultimate. Enough to make sure to get the kill onto that. So big pick for Marcus early on. Make sure he gets himself up to his Hasten Katana now finished up for the jungler. And that's when the chainsaw starts beginning. It's already bad enough when you get the attack speed boots and the Crusher, but now he can stick to you a lot easier with that Hasten Katana.
Yeah, next up is going to be the damage that comes out from this his katana. You can pretty much go for a serrated edge if you would like. Arendite's also been quite a popular item. Kin size, obviously can't overlook those. I've seen some people go Hard Seeker, one or two people go on hi-rez Lament. There's definitely a few options out there for the Kali to go at this stage of the game, but I would like to see something with a bit more power to it, so like an Arendite.
Chekio going to take some damage from the Mire over the wall by Mogao. He's rotated over to this mid lane for a very quick push here. No objectives that they're going for, just looking for a kill possibly here onto Chekio or maybe Marcus, but they're going to dash away from the Mire very quickly. Marcus gets rooted in place by it, but the minions cleared out. Smileyface can't continue to push into tower. All 5 players from Smileyface are here. Papis Warchi is making his rotation finally over. Chekio with a very quick beat. He's lost half his health to the bombs from Brats. I believe that's all 3 bombs down from the mid laner, so he's only going to have his bomb stunned for a setup this time around. He's waiting for that second one to come back online.
Mid-tier 1 still stands here for the Papis, as Smileyface firmly place themselves as the aggressors during this game. That can all change in an instant with the 2 basic attack-based gods of the Papis, as well as that Kali waiting in the wings as a 3rd auto-attack-based god, the Assassin, 4 arms. It's a ticking time bomb here for Smileyface, and at some point you do have to get worried about the fact that there's still 5 towers remaining. None of the Phoenixes are fully exposed.
Well, first tower for Smileyface goes down as its soul lane took a little too much damage from the minions. Warchi has to supernova to get Echrome to back away from his purple buff. Kind of a little bit of the flip side this time around. Last couple sets we've been seeing purple buff so aggressively for the opposite end. Now Chekio into the mid lane. He'll have to clear out his minions. Brats still putting up the big numbers on this Agni. Again, I would have liked to have seen his signature Vulcan, but I think this Agni has worked out so well for him in this game.
I think the Agni's worked out extremely well, and I think the advantageous fact of him being able to apply Divine Ruin a lot. Well, I say that, he needs to be alive to apply it, as he just gets surrounded by members of the Papis. Very, very coordinated attack there, very good gank in the side of the jungle, and that can allow them to push down this tier 1 tower mid in response.
Caster's Curse. It strikes back as hard as ever. When you start complimenting a player on how well they're playing, they get rotated on by 4 players and die in an instant. And ultimate out of Creed. Not going to be able to throw Mogao back as he uses his Purification Beads and forces out the madness out of this Cthulhu. That'll be an ult expended for not a whole lot, as everybody from Papis backed away and's already resustained themselves up, and they can look for a push somewhere. Oni Fury is about to respawn here in about 5 seconds, and it looks like that's where Papis are setting up for their next zone. Chekio and Warchi, the 2 carries, looking to take down this objective very quickly. They have a Soul and a Jing Wei. Unsurprising that they'll be able to take this one down very quick. Already down to half health with just the 2 of them, and Warchi more than happy taking this one down. He's got the Ring of Akate and that Typhon's Fang. Oni Fury quickly and easily down for the Papis.
Yeah, no chance of any contest there from Smileyface. The only one I could actually get anywhere near them would have been Echrome with his ultimate, with that Astral Barrage, but just unable to find them. Does find Marcus in the jungle though, and picks up the very nice solo kill. Marcus, no chance to even get his ultimate online. His ultimate off, should I say. So, just a very nice, easy, quick kill and quick pick off there.
It kind of looks like a case if he didn't want to use the ult, because it was, to be fair, Echrome on a ROM. We've seen how accurate his snipes are, so even if you get that ultimate off, he just waits for it to fade, and then he'll get the shots to take that one away. Red buff stolen by Smileyface. They're keeping themselves in this game, only 400 gold down, but still being down to the Papis despite all this pressure and all these kills they've been putting on the board. Impressive play out of the Papis to hold themselves this close to the lead.
It's been good play by them to just stay in this game as it is right now. But I think it's been even more impressive that Smileyface have forced them into a position where they are having to hold out.
Supernova used as well as the ultimate out of Echrome. So unable to find the damage to that Astral Barrage. They got the Aegis Amulet out of Warchi. Brod's going to juke out 1 bit of damage out of Chekio, immuning away from that persistent gust. Taking a couple of bombs instead is Chekio and puts him down to about half. But he's got Lifesteal, and Lifesteal bring him back up to nearly full as he's bouncing those mid camps to make sure he can maximize the efficiency of it. So back up to full health is Chekio, like nothing ever happened.
Yeah, it would be very nice if I could just get back up to full health like that very instantly. That would be real swell.
Yeah, you just walk up and you just hit something, and now you're full HP again. What a great life that would be. Well, maybe
That's
not.
the life of an Anubis main, and it's glorious.
Anubis,
Three down, you walk away, one tick later, you're full health.
I mean, build triple lifesteal. It's just a great day to be in Anubis. Not a great day to be Chekio, however. He's forced the airstrike, and immediately 2 tanks, or should I say, Sirga and a Mogao, directly on top of him. Sirga able to find it with the Shield of Achilles. Onto the back end of it. Finds the last bit of damage to Chekio. Gone. After being caught out by Ice Silence. Beautiful push out of this Kuzenbo has been a real pain for them. For the Papis. They haven't been able to find a way to really deal with Silence. Creed trying to steal away that objective, but they're not going to be unsuccessful. Broad's taking a huge chunk of damage. Beats and Aegis both down. Marcus chasing in. He barely gets that Destruction ultimate off in time, but I'm not sure it's going to matter because E-Chrome's right on top of him for the last basic.
And so far, the rest of the members of the Papis have had to scatter as the third one falls down. Creed gets killed by Brot. And Brot still lived through every single onslaught of damage that they threw at him. Mid-tower, the same can't be said for that one as that gets taken out as well. Draco Marino and Warchi, the dual lane extraordinaires. And to try and defend the tier 2 tower would help from Chekio has just respawned. It would be a 3-on-3, so this is certainly an opportunity for a fight they can take.
Silence takes about half his health from the tower. Tier 2 will still stand. So all players on Smileyface have to back away as they can't really fight into this 3v3, especially with Silence so low. Brot's being able to squeeze out of every single one of these fights. His only spill coming when it was like 4v1 at a mid camp. He just had nowhere to go once that dash was down. Able to keep himself alive through, and you saw right there on the respawn of Marcus that he is now once again the target of this jungler.
Yeah, and I don't blame the fact that he is the target, because you can't just let Marcus get off to a fantastic start. You can't just let him continuously get mark kill after mark after mark kill. You need to keep an eye on who the mark is, protect them at all costs during the fight, but once, even more importantly, if you know where they're positioning, you know what their path is going to be like, then you should know exactly where to stand to interrupt and hopefully disrupt the change of the card.
Very aggressive Fire Giant attempt by Smileyface. Let's look to see how quick the reaction times were out of Papis. And it was very fast as Draco Marino was right to the front lines for it. Throwing out the Kappa, Ice Silence, but he's not going to get a good enough bounce, and so he'll go right back to him. Mogao putting a little bit of poke on a Creed. As you can see, the ward advantage is in favor of Smileyface here over by this Fire Giant. Meanwhile, onto the flip side, Papis are on the back foot. Again, not uncommon. We typically do see the Papis in this situation. Yeah, not saying the Papis are not sitting back at 25 minutes would be the more uncommon thing to say.
I think saying Papis are underneath their Phoenixes, waiting for the game to be over at 25 minutes, that's when you're like, wait, what happened? But when it's, Papis, they're a slight bit behind, but they're dancing around the fire chain with the team, we're going to go, they're going to win a fight soon, aren't they?
Back to the tier 2 tower, Smileyface goes, and they'll be able to get that very quickly, thanks to E-Chrome, and some big bombs out of Brots. It looks like that was all 3 of them expended, and now without that big AoE damage, he has to get out in full retreat. Sirga takes about half of his health, and a quick Fatal Strike will get him out of the Dharmic Pillars. That's 2 ults used for Smileyface, 1 out of the Papis, only Draco Marino expending his. Everybody on Smileyface now back on retreat as Papis push forward.
Papis pushing forward, and that's just after we talked about them being behind. That's just a classic play from them. But they're pushing forward with purpose, and that purpose is going to be this Primal Fury. Isolus is here to try and stop them and delay them from doing this. Gazek is here as well. We put into combat, so can't use the blink, even if he did have one. I could again with the zone with that World of Rage and Steel. Primal Fury low, Primal Fury stolen by Smileyface once again. An objective has been stolen, so one Gold Fury stolen each. The Pyromancer was stolen by Smileyface earlier on as well, so they're up 1 on the steals.
Oh, Marcus makes a mistake and has to immediately go back to the safety of his team. Mogao sent into madness. He goes, and 4 players looking like they got hit by that knockup. Supernova out of Warchi. He got separated from the rest of the team. Brots finds Creed. Warchi has to beat before he takes too much damage from being shoved in by the minions. Warchi gets hit by the Kappa, and it's, let's just say it's curtain calls for the old soul here, as there are 4 players chasing him down. I'm not sure how Warchi is going to make it into this one. They're still chasing him 3, still on the tail of this soul. We're just got all he can really do is just run at this point, delay him as long as possible. Siriga gets the final shot, but all that delay means that the Smileyface can't go for the Fire Giant immediately.
Yeah, that's such an odd decision for them to chase as much as they did onto Warchi. The rest of the members of the Papis have come back up, apart from Creed, who's still 17 seconds away. They're all in position now to be able to defend this objective. Well, I say they are. Checkio is immediately sent back, you know, packing in a coffin. And that should open up the Fire Giant again, so Rod's covering for the team's mistake there by allowing them to have a shot at this Fire Giant.
Draco Marino taking the long path around to the Fire Giant, not going to get spotted by anybody and not going to spot anybody. And, well, now he knows where everybody went, and that was Fire Giant. First one of the game goes to Smileyface, and they've extended their lead to nearly 7,000. This is one of the bigger deficits we've seen out of the Papis this split.
You know, this is why you can't really ever write Smileyface off as well. Yes, they're one of the 2 teams that did join from the SOC, but they were the first seed in the SOC, which meant that they got to join in for Season 2 finals, which featured the Papis, featured Cold Llamas, and it featured Belt Slap. In the first set, they came up against Belt Slap. They lost that set, but they did take it to a 3rd game, which is not much you can be said for about pretty much every other team in the SOC and the SCC. So they aren't any slouches, and they're here to prove it in, week out circumstances.
And doing it with a Vulcan, mind you, as well. That's why we keep bringing up Brotz's Vulcan. He brought it out against Belt Slap, and I remember, I believe it was myself and Aggro on that cast, and we both just kind of went, yeah, why the Vulcan? We both just went, and me, I'm a huge Vulcan fanatic. I love seeing the god. I love seeing him played back in the days of even when Gnaw was playing the game, and he was like one of the first guys to bring Vulcan into the competitive scene. You know, obviously, and then he moved on, and Pretty Prime kind of became the namesake of it. I've loved Vulcan, but we always just kind of wondered, why is he picking Vulcan out of anything left? There's so many other picks available. But Vulcan was the one that goes through, gets them the win in that game, and puts Brotz and Smileyface on the map as far as the SOC goes. And now that's why we can see them kind of going toe-to-toe with the Papis.
Yeah, and I think what made that pick even more awkward is the fact that we were thinking something like a Raishin or a Myrna would have been way more suitable because they needed a Divine Ruin. He doesn't even pick one up. It's Mogout that picked up the Divine Ruin that game.
It's Mogout being Mogout and stuff, and into the Phoenix goes Smileyface. First bomb lands on the Draco Marino, gets the Supernova out of Warchi. McCree goes into the back and picks up Brotz, who didn't have his beads, and thrown right into the Darvik pillars. Warchi gets the credit for the kill. Up into the sky is E-Chrome. Everybody's getting low on the side of Smileyface. Marcus gets the ult off, goes on to Silence, and gets the reset with it. So the Mark is down, but Marcus is up. E-Chrome full health, staring down 4 out of the Papis in a successful defense. Again, you can never count them out, even though they're 7,000 gold down.
I mean, the Phoenix took 0 damage in that instance. So it's such a huge, monumental fight there from the Papis, and for Smileyface, it seemed to all go wrong at every single junction. I mean, Broad's forced out very early on, no major agony damage, no major control from the long range. The second that was over, Marcus jumps in, gets stunned, gets CC chained by 3 people. They almost have him down. The second he's able to use his ultimate, he does so with a slither of health. And just before the ultimate ends, gets a kill onto Silence to get the reset. Then those 3, such unfortunate timing things, those 3 minute details, change the course of the fight and change the course of the game.
I mean, we saw the first bomb out of Brotz go into the back onto just Draco Marino alone. I believe the stun followed up. So when you throw all of your damage at the tank, who's all the way into the back and not even looking to move forward, you kind of wasted your own form of peel. And as soon as he had any damage thrown towards him, he quickly uses his beads. And what happens after? Creed jumps right at him and throws him right back into the fray of it. Brotz takes his second spill, and that helps the setup for the Papis to keep themselves in. But Primal Fury goes down for Smileyface, this time not having to be stolen away. This time it was actually secured by the team who started it.
Hey, that makes a bit of a change, and that's going to be the second fire pot lit there for Smileyface, meaning they do all the jungle camps and jungle bosses 14% more effectively. And that's going to make a big difference here onto this next Fire Giant, because you have someone like an Acne or a Ram just wailing away on the objective for 14% more damage. You are asking for them to just instantly win the game from there.
That's Siriga almost getting tagged there by the mid camps as he wanted to back. Sometimes you forget about that the camps immediately start drawing aggro to you. I think we saw that yesterday in the Pro League. I believe it was Sino who went down to the purple buff as he was trying to walk back away or even back next to them, and they tagged him after a fantastic save by inbound, I must say, onto him. Then he accidentally takes a little spill there, but regardless, onto it. And we're nearly 30 minutes into the game now, and Smileyface holds a 7,000 gold lead over the Papis. Still relevant gold, and the experience not so much anymore as Draco Marino a level up onto Eye Silence, but supports at this stage a lot less important, I would say, compared to the rest of the team being level 20.
Oh, but they're still support lives matter. They deserve to be at level 20, and they deserve to be just as far as they can be. Mark is going to get the tier 1 tower in mid. Forces Moga over from that rotation. Icreed looking to try and make his way in to disrupt this artillery bombardment from Brost and E-Chrome. Checo going to get stunned down there. Beats forced early on at the ADC, and that could spell disaster for him if he gets caught out by Ice on this next blink.
Draco Marino on the Ganesh. Fully upgraded shell and an Aegis amulet. And going for... Is that a Spear of the Magus that he's going for?
I mean, could be Spear of the Magus. Could also potentially be a Spear of Desolation.
Marcus into the back. Brots, Aegis, and Beads down. Marcus still looking for that kill. It's not the target that he needs, but it is going to get him the kill. Gonna be the bubble to make sure he doesn't get knocked up by it. The claw swipe is not enough. Needs to get away from the knockup, but it's not gonna get the distance. Mogao will find the shot, trading 1-for-1. But that's Brots down. That's their primary damage dealer with the mid laner gone. Jekyo airstrikes out, and E-Chrome continues to put damage in. Warchi gonna zone with that supernova, takes down one ward. Kappa gets thrown out, but immediately taken down. 4 against 4 here as the Fire Giant is back up. But look at the ward control out of Smileyface. What's that? 5 sentry wards and 2 regular wards all around this Fire Giant zone.
Yeah, they may have heard what I said in game 1 and earlier this game about not so many wards, and they've taken it upon themselves to prove me wrong in the Caster's Curse department. They've really emphasized the fact that they want this objective and they want to make sure that they know exactly who's standing where. This is really powerful teamwork, I'd say, that should be done a lot more. This is sometimes even more what we see regular SPL teams buy at this stage of the game.
Into the mid lane, Draco Marino now level 20 on the Ganesh, and we'll have to see which of these options he goes into with the spear, whether it's Desolation for any reason, Maggots, Divine Ruin is an option for him as well if he wants to get a little bit of anti-heal over onto Brots and E-Chrome, as well as Mogao, who does have the healing up in that Descent into Madness form. We can make sure that he can get that big heal off to his team. The trade-off for it, it's what, a 6% health swing off of Cthulhu for, was that 14% or something like that? Max rank to all your teammates in the area?
I believe it scales up to 14%, yes.
A lot of health that can go back, and it's just boom, 14% of your max health right back at you. And you got to make sure that you get some kind of anti-heal away from that one. So I wouldn't be too upset to see a Divine Ruin picked up here by Draco. You can't apply it very easily with those Dharmic Pillars, just because they don't really have a traditional mage to do so. Warchi not really the best enemy. You can see a Toxic Blade picked up by this soul for their 6th item.
I mean, actually, I wouldn't be opposed to the Divine Ruin. Like you said, no one else is spotted on their team, despite the fact they have 2 good candidates for it in Warchi and Icreed, especially Icreed. Could potentially fit it into his build, but let's go for the Voidstone instead, a bit more defensive oriented. But there's one power item going to be that Spear of the Magus, rather than that Divine Ruin. If he was going to replace any item for it, I'd say that would be the one he would choose.
Still posturing up for this Fire Giant. Warchi gets a good bit of damage onto Brots with that Stellar Burst, but E-Chrome returns the favor right on Draco Marino, catches the roll out of E-Chrome. Whirlwind of Rage and Steel and Dharmic Pillars both down. E-Chrome has to go up into the sky just to get some kind of snipe damage off. Chekio uses a preemptive Aegis to make sure he doesn't take too much damage from those Astral Barrage shots. And everybody on the Papis are going to back themselves off. Mogao Gonna try and sustain the team back up. Knock up just a little off the mark onto Chekio. Brat still waiting around the corner to see if he can get a bomb off onto somebody. Marcus at half health on the Kali. Bomb off the mark from Brat. This is a zone. Fire Giant started up by E-Chrome, but he's gonna quickly realize that he can't take that one on himself. Marcus leaps away. The bomb. No tick damage from the passive there onto Bratz. Otherwise, that would have forced the ultimate out of Marcus, or maybe even got the kill if he wouldn't have recognized it in time. So Fire Giant, once again, started by Smileyface.
34 and a half, maybe just push up to 35 minutes. Iceland is almost dead in the backside, as is Icrete. The tanks have eaten a lot of damage. They've done their job, and well, Circusegg is looking for the execute. He gets one of them. Draco Marino could be the next one. He gets through the Dark Pillars at the right time, but look where here it is. It's Marcus with a good flick in, looking for his mark. Circusegg could be the one. He's shut down there by Warchi, and instead it's going to turn his attention to Ice Silence. A bit more damage. It's going to be able to do it. Still has access to that destruction ultimate has been forced into it early.
It just took so much return damage from Silence between the Thorns and the Spike Shell. I mean, Marcus just couldn't sustain through his own damage is the best way to say it, because when you're trying to burn through that kind of defense, you have to make sure that you have the sustain for it. And unfortunately for him, he doesn't have any lifesteal online, so he's just burning through his own health bar at that rate. When you're trying to go through that kind of tankiness as a Kali with no sustain, you're just asking for death.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, she's probably going to look to be selling those boots just for one last item. I imagine it could be something like a Blood Fortress, bit of a life steal, bit of extra shield.
Oni Fury started up by Smileyface, and they'll grab that one. So another Fury on the board for the boys in blue. So they get their second secured one, as well as the one that they stole earlier on. A little bit of a ward battle by the Fire Giant as Mogao clears that up, and Silence back at full health on the Kuzenbo. I'll defer a Magai's cloak for his final item. So has to sell his boots, obviously, to get to the true 6th slot. Really, nobody has been able to sell out for their 6th item just yet. Everybody still has boots in their item builds at the moment.
I mean, for some people, they just don't have an idea about what they want in mind before they're getting that 6th and final item. For other players, it's just a case of familiarity, to say the least, because you know, it's still a relatively new thing to have the ability to sell your boots and have no boots as in the final stages of the game. And if you're comfortable with the stats your boots give, then you don't need to change it.
Well, to be fair, boots are a pretty bloated item to begin with for the amount of gold that you spend on them, so not getting rid of those isn't the end of the world, especially if, like you said, you're not sure what you even want to go into for your last item. But once again, Smileyface, the front line here for this Fire Giant. Silence is getting eaten alive by Warchi, and Warchi is just getting decimated by the bombs out of Bratz. Waiting for it. That snipe is huge. Warchi might be able to get away in time. It looks like he will make it out, but Creed throws one right into the pillars, and Bratz is down. The mage for Smileyface, one of the backbones for their team, is gone, and opens up to a 5 versus 4 now in favor of the Papis.
Oh, they could look for the Fire Giant here. I think they're also going to back off for now, leave Draco Marino by himself. The rest of them heal up, sustain, go back, spend some gold. They come back, they then burst this Fire Giant down. They look for yet another fight.
They keep trying to fight around this Fire Giant, but Smileyface have just not been able to get the upper hand in these fights. It seems like they're just going even, or in this instance of the last case, they lost that fight. Losing Bratz, who didn't use his beads or his Aegis at all. A little bit of a misplay by the mid laner. Now that lets Papis start up the Fire Giant themselves. Warchi on top of it. Draco Marino and Chekio making their way in. Creed trying to play zone, but it's kind of hard to zone up against this. And meanwhile, Marcus goes right into the backline onto E-Chrome. Purification beads, and then the destruction passive. He will get the kill. Not going to give him a health reset, but it will be enough to get him his first kill for the engagement. Sirga falling super low. Warchi hitting the Fire Giant, and the knockup will be more than enough to help him out as Warchi gets the kill onto Sirga. 3 down. On the side of Smileyface's, Mogao fell as well in the fight. It's only Silence and Bratz left alive, but the Papis never count them out, never count them down, because they will claw their way back in from a 7k deficit, now down to only 3,000 at this stage of the game.
And then if you include the fact that they have the Fire Giant, enhanced Fire Giant, with about 6,500, 7,000, they're looking like they're ahead by about 3 or 4 grand, so far it's a good day to be on their side.
Tier 2 tower goes down, and into the Phoenix. Creed will go looking for Brotz. Now, Brotz does still have both relics.
Oh
and
my god.
hopefully we'll use them a little bit more, but between Warchi and Chekio, they might just have enough damage. Brotz doesn't even get the relic off. Silence thrown into the middle of the 2 carries, and with 4, make that 5. All players there. The Papis with 1 team fight swing this game back in their favor and bring a near 40-minute game to a close.
I'm searching underneath my phone, underneath my keyboard. I'm looking for Brotz. Have you seen Brotz?
Hold on, let me look out the window. No, he's not outside. I don't know where Brotz went, but it's not in this game. Both of those last fights, Brotz was erased. And no chance of him getting any damage off. Didn't use either relic. There's no way you can fight that.
I mean, no, he just got hit by the Stellar Burst, hit by the Supernova, and before he had a chance to react, before he got knocked back down to the ground from that mini knock-up for the first hit, he's just dead. So no chance of defensive plays there. But they kept on peeling away at the Papis. They kept on chipping away at some of the defenses. They just never got that final killing blow, and that's the power of the Papis. You have to take as much as you can from those 1 fights that you win, because eventually you are going to lose one against the Papis, and at that point, if you lose that fight, you are losing the game.
The problem is when you try chipping away at a marble block, eventually you're going to get the statue of David on the back side of that one, and the Papis come through shining in the late game. All it took was I'm going to say 2 team fights, but obviously the last one was the big one for it. With those 2 team fights at the very end of the game, that's all the Papis needed. That's all the window of opportunity that was necessary for them to get the win off of that. Both fights, the first person gone, Brotz. They knew we kill Brotz, we win the fight. And they did that both times flawlessly.
Yeah, and I have to say, it's just a good collective team effort. Warchi, once again, has a great game. I mean, a bit more of a standout this time rather than the last game. We had to take a back seat to Marcus, but 7-4-4. Not the highest gold on the side, not the highest gold on the team. We sort of expect that. Just kept everything nice and calm for the rest of his team. But Draco Marino, this is this key reason why Ganesh was picked in this squad. And this is the key reason why you saw Ganesh consistently pick the band against the Papis. He was ridiculous in this game for the team. I mean, a couple of those Dharmic pillars really separate the fights quite well, and it was good use of initiation from him.
Yeah, I believe Draco Marino only not a part of 4 of the kills in this entire game, and putting out great numbers for himself. 11, almost 12,000 damage and 31,000 mitigated, but most importantly, playing disruption into the front or the back line wherever he was necessary. Multiple times we saw Creed pick somebody up with the Whirlwind of Rage and Steel and throw him straight into the pillars, and that's a ton of damage that if you don't have beads for, you're just going to eat for free.
Oh yeah, this was a difficult game for the Papis to get through. I don't think they've made it easier on themselves, but they come out with flying colors, and Smileyface, I think their performances in these 2 games merited a win and merited some form of improvements on the standings. Just the harsh reality is, at this stage of the game, at this stage of the competition, it doesn't matter how you win. All that matters is you got the win. It doesn't matter if you lose. All that matters is you lost.
Yeah, but moving forward, there is that little light of hope there for Smileyface, as they do have a few more matches left in the split where they can show and continue to shine through with that improvement that they've been showing again these 3 weeks. So once again, it's an SOC team coming up and fighting against the big boys, and they've been proving to have that fighting chance of it. They had a little bit of a struggle last week against their other SOC counterpart, but in this matchup here, going against the Papis in a way that Donkey Hoof couldn't compete against them, I mean, there's still hope for this team, but they still got room to improve. Their late game is great, but the problem is it feels like Brotz is the backbone of their late game fights, and as soon as that bone is broken, it's just game over for them, and I'd like to see them try and play through possibly Echrome, because Echrome did so well for them in the early and mid stages of the game, and then late game, they just depended too much on Brotz and didn't have anything onto the back to help out Echrome.
Echrome had some pretty good games, and I think also you'd have to look at Sergazek in the jungle. He had some really, really strong performances on the backer, and then previously on the Achilles. And it's not just this, it's been most sets that they've all had their own individual games where they've done well, but it's still just been Bros has also had a good game. They need to figure out how to have both members, exploit their lead as much as possible.
Well, as we get closing out here for the night, there is still a few more weeks of play for these teams and still room to improve for these SOC squads, but they've really impressed me in these last couple of weeks, especially today's performances. These teams have really shown up and shown that they still have that fighting chance, but it's going to be a long climb up for them if they want to have a chance to move further on, or else they're going to having to face potential relegations for them. But that's going to be it for us tonight here on the European Smite Challenger Circuit. We'll be back tomorrow night with Blazy and Lermy to bring you guys the North American side of it and see if we can see some more high-caliber action amongst the North American players. But that's it for us tonight here. J Mac Tucker and Alpha Jackal on the mics, and Jithan's on production for it. You guys have a great night, and we'll see you back tomorrow.